Back again. What's up, stream? What's up, YouTube? So, no fancy overlays, like bare bones live streaming here, but we're here. The reason I'm live streaming on YouTube right now, as opposed to Twitch, which is my normal live streaming platform, is I want to be able to connect and reach the people that are supporting the YouTube content, the people that are interested in the educational videos that I'm making. I want to share what I do with my live streams. I find that this will be an easier place to collect some of that content. Now, what I typically do, if you're new to the channel, in my live streams is I'm going through the strategies and like the video ideas that I'm working on, and I do it in a live process. It helps me to work out how I'm going to go about making my videos, helps me to build on my scripts, and then this also gives me an opportunity to connect with people live and create additional content for the channel. So that's the plan. That's what we're doing. Now, specifically at this point in time, I'm focusing on scav runs, how to make money in Tarkov, how to make your game easier, make your runs more successful, and to show you what I focus on, show you how you can create a focus that will work for you as a beginner, as a low skilled player, even as a high skilled player. Everyone needs money, everyone needs income in this game, and if you're broke, Tarkov is no fun. I read posts on Reddit regularly where people are resetting their accounts because they've hit rock bottom, and there's no reason to reset your account. Once you know what to do, absolutely no reason to ever reset your account. And I'm going to show you how you can go about a strategy that will allow you to fit into that category. So if you're someone that struggles with the game, if you're someone that finds yourself broke, this is going to be gold for you. If you're someone that's just barely getting by and you want to figure out how can I min-max my income experience in the game, specifically on the scav front right now, then this content is also for you. So we're going to talk about scav runs. Before I even get into it, I want to talk about my prioritization when it comes to loot and how I go about filtering while I'm playing. So I'm gonna start here actually just in my inventory. I'm gonna break it down a little bit. I essentially have 4 categories, and when I create the video that's gonna be going with this, like I'm working on some content right now. It's sort of on hold. I'm in my 2nd week of college courses, and it's a lot of work. So I'm trying to get ahead and keep on top of all my studies, and whenever I do have extra time, I'm going to be able to put more into my videos. So I've got something that's in progress. I've got some map learning video for reserve, by the way, that's in progress too, and I'll be getting on that as soon as I have extra time. So let's head over to the inventory. We're going to talk about the categories that I think about whenever I'm choosing what to loot, and there's 4 things. Now, the first one is survival. So we're going to focus on this part of the inventory over here, and I'll show you how I'm making these decisions. So survival is anything that's going to make your character live longer, make them more dangerous, or allow them to essentially, be more effective in the raid. So if you're thinking about being effective, you need to be able to heal hit points. You need to be able to fix bleeds, light bleeds, heavy bleeds. You need to be able to fix broken limbs. Sometimes you're going to need to be able to remove pain. If you're using absolutely terrible ammo, you're going to want to upgrade your ammo any chance you can get. So these are the things that increase survival. Now, these are priority at the beginning of the raid. As the raid goes on, these things have less value to me. So we'll talk about value per square here in a little bit, but there's an opportunity for me later in the raid to actually get rid of my survival items and replace them with profit items generally. And we'll talk about that kind of towards the end. That's number 4. But number 2 are items that are for quests. So there's a really great resource on the wiki. I'm going to pull it up here in a second, but anything that you need for an active quest or a future quest, those are the things that I have in my 2nd priority for items. So here's 3 items that you would typically be looking for, and anything that has the little check mark, that item found in raid in the bottom right, that's an item that's going to be appropriate for a lot of quest requirements. And I'm going to bring up a graphic that'll build on this a little bit. So if you're not familiar with this, I'll show you what's up. And then you can see in the bottom right here, this is actually a yellow check mark. So this is an item that is found in raid that's needed for an active quest. And we can actually see here, it says item has been found in raid for the Punisher Part 2 quest. That's awesome. It gives you some really good context. So this graphics card needs, or it satisfies the farming Part 4 quest requirements for an item. Now, the reason why I have a WT rig and you don't see that yellow bit in the bottom is because this is actually for a future quest. I'm going to bring up a resource. So I have this linked in the Good Vibes Gaming Discord, but by all means, all you need to do is search for quest items Tarkov wiki. I would say, as long as you have Tarkov wiki and then whatever the other keyword is, you're gonna be able to get what you're looking for. So this is the wiki right here. There's two different graphics that you could look at. So quest items to keep and then quest items filtered to in raid. I'm just gonna get the in raid ones right now, but it would be worth, looking at the items to keep. This one's just a little bit smaller, even though it's crazy big. There's a lot of content here. So this is a lot to look at, but I'm gonna point out a couple of things. So we saw the WT rig, so we can see it right here under Ragman. I'm saving one of those because I know later on I'm going to need to have one. So I'm just using it as, extra space. It's usually storing like masks or, whatever, like some sort of small item, obviously. And I've also done the same thing with Black Rocks. So I already have those collected. I know I'm going to keep them later, or need them later rather. I've done the same thing with Pilgrim. So I have one of those saved. And I'm starting to save some of this other gear here. So what I'm drawing your attention to is that these items, as long as you know that you should be looking for them, this will help you decide, do I need this and should I be extracting the raid from it, even though it's not for profit. So these are things that, you're just going to stumble on. A really great example, if you're going for the Kappa container, if you are familiar with what that is, I can explain it in just a moment. But if you're going for the Kappa container, this is like as you progress through the game, you're going to stumble across all of these items here on the right. You're just going to find them randomly, and you're going to want to start saving them, especially the ones that are a little bit more rare. So number 2 are items that you need for quests. And, there's a broad range of stuff. The reason why the found in raid one is a bigger priority for me, because anything that doesn't need to be found in raid, you can just buy off of the flea market. Now, you can save yourself a lot of money by finding things like a LEDX if you know where to go for them, and you're capable of looting the areas that they exist in, so surviving in them basically. So there's a lot of stuff here. It basically goes chronologically from the top down, but if you're a newer player, you would know that you've already had to look for flash drives. So raid number 1, when I start playing the game, I'm looking for flash drives. I'm actually looking for a lot of this stuff. And if you have a smaller stash, obviously you can't keep everything in here, but I definitely would make room for a tank battery if I found that somewhere. Usually you only get those on reserve. But car batteries, those are something that's annoying to try and find. And the goal that I have for myself is that I'm not looking for these things when I need them. I want to already have them collected. So throughout my raids, I'm always looking for this stuff. So that's priority number 2. Number 1, survival. Number 2, quest items. And if we tab back to the game, number 3 are items that are rare or that I don't have access to. And early on, a really easy example for me to give you would be optics. So when you're just starting out in the game, you don't have access to buy optics, or it's hard to put them on weapons. So that's something that I'm always looking for early on. I'm always looking for optics. There's something to be said about, here, I'll give you another example of something that, you might not get access to. I've got one hiding around in here. So like this grip right here, right? So this might be a priority for me because I don't have access to get this. If I wanted to buy it, I'm going to be paying a markup on the flea market. So anything that I don't basically have unlocked, that would be a good description of my third priority in terms of items. Now my 4th and final is profit. So purely profit driven. And here's a great example of some items that are worth a decent amount in profit. And when I think about an item, I think about what is it worth based on its per square value. So I'll use an example. I'm going to get this is a perfect thing to do. So I'm just going to grab this weapon. put it up at the top of my inventory. So if I put this weapon in my backpack, this weapon takes up 2x4 squares, so 8 squares. And if I get it out of the raid and I want to sell it on the flea market, look what I'm going to get here. I'm going to get, what, maybe 20k? So let's say we even get like, you know, 24k, right? So a 24,000 item, if we take up all the space in the backpack, this means that each square is worth 3,000. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12, 12 plus 12 is 24. So, you know, that's what a Vepr is actually worth in your backpack. If it's in your character's equipping it, that's a little bit different. You know, you're able to calculate your value differently there. So obviously you want to equip weapons, you want to equip the bigger things. You don't want to necessarily keep them in your backpack. So keep that in mind. If you're someone that's extracting with weapons, most of the time, it's better to just buy them off of the flea market, especially for lower tier stock weaponry. So when you look at other items, and you may not necessarily know the values of everything, but it's something that you'll build on over time. You look at tea. So something you might not think is all that valuable, but when we look at what it's going for on the flea market, 23,900. So that's what its value per square is. A screw nut, these are around 20k right now. So someone here sold it for 10, someone here sold it for 12, but like reliably right now you can get it for around 20. And this stuff always fluctuates, right? It's going up and down, but what you'll start to get a sense of are what are the things that are regularly above 10k, and then you can decide on what you want to take out of the raid. Same thing with something like Keck tape. And what I did to learn this stuff in the beginning is one, I collected a lot of loot, and when I brought it out of the raid, if I'd already extracted with something, I was less likely to bring it out in the beginning because I knew what its value was, or if I had remembered it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember what that is. Or, you know, if you remember it's really valuable, you grab that. But if you have the space where you're not really too sure, take out something that you're not familiar with yet. Take it out of the raid, sell it, and then, you know, you'll often figure out, well, this sucked. You know, I just took out this Vepr or this AKM VPO. Why did I do that? Why did I waste my time? So this is how I figured out over time what was worth the most in profit. And I learned pretty early on to stop taking out weapons. And this is the last example I'll give you in terms of profit. So this rig takes up 3x4 spaces. So it takes up 12 squares, right? But the rig actually creates an extra set of 4 squares. So it takes up these are the 12 squares that it takes up, but it gives me a bonus of 4 squares. Most of the loot that I'm looking for is 1 and 2 squares. There's a bit of loot that's like 2x2. Some of them are, you know, it's pretty. They're uncommon. They're very uncommon for the items that you're going to want to take that are above 1 and 2 squares. Once you start figuring out the strategy. So getting a rig inside the backpack is one of the best ways to increase your profit. And then also when you're on your PMC to increase your weight. So if you're wanting to get your strength gains up, you just want to get a rig inside your backpack, and all you need is this size of backpack right here. So that's a summary of what's or like an explanation of what it is that I'm looking for. And just to summarize, go back to the beginning. So we're looking for items that are going to increase survival, looking for items that are going to be needed later or currently for quests, items that I don't have access to. I typically don't have I don't think about this anymore now that I have access to the flea market, but early on this is relevant, especially if you're sub level 10. I would say that this part of the strategy is most valuable to you. And then for profit. And profit is generally 1 and 2 square items, and I'm always looking to get the biggest backpack I can in the raid, and it's usually possible to get something like this size right here. This is the size of a Scav backpack. I'm always looking to get a rig inside my backpack, as well as the rig that I'm wearing, to maximize my space. So let's go put those strategies into action. I'm going to show you the loot run that I often do on my Scav. We're going to head over to customs. So this is a quote-unquote beginner-friendly map. I know that some people find it really challenging to play this map. I, on my Scav runs, don't. Like anyone, I die my fair share. Tarkov certainly provides that, and that, that's one of the things that makes the game cool. But on my Scav runs, I treat them as an income generator. So when you're playing Tarkov and you're in an area where there's combat, you're risking your character's death. So right off the bat, most of the time when I'm on my scav looking for profit, I'm avoiding combat because I know that I can loot the map and make more than enough profit. And I'm making profit with a consistency that's quite high. I'll show you what my survival rate is on my scav, so you'll see like how much value I'm getting out of my time when I'm spending it in raid. And it's accumulated. I mean, this wipe I'm sure I've amassed over 75 mil, easily 75. And in previous wipes, it's usually over 200. And there's a point whenever I stop playing where I kind of wane off. Like last wipe, there's about a month and a half where I started doing a lot more online courses, and I was doing different things to improve my content actually. So, and the wipe before, I think I got sidetracked by another game, whatever. But I play for a while. I really enjoy the beginning of the wipe, early to mid wipe, and then like late wipe is fun, but it depends. I usually am I enjoy making content or helping other players. So I do Sherpa runs, for instance. So I'm going to talk about my strategy as I play, and I will hopefully be able to give you a good idea of how to go about a run like what I'm doing here. And if you're not familiar with hidden caches or you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to basically take you on a run where that's my primary goal. That's where a lot of my loot income comes from, and that's where we're going to be filtering through those different those 4 different categories. So this is one of such hidden caches. And basically one of the first things that I do when I start is I want to get some sort of cover, and I want to check my inventory, and I'm doing all of these things at the same time because there happens to be loot here, there's cover, and now I can be in my inventory. I'm going to hotkey my meds, so I hover my cursor over the bandage. To hotkey a med, it has to be in your pockets or your rig. So I hover my cursor here, I press the 6 key, and now it's going to be hotkeyed to 6. Hidden caches are clutch. Even if you don't want to just do a cache run, knowing where they all are is going to up your total per raid, your average per raid, and it gives you something else to do as well. When you're just getting into the game, you don't have very good gear, you don't necessarily want to get into contested areas early on, so hidden caches gives you a nice objective to go and do, and then you can go get your your actual objective later on. This is like one of the first things that I decided to learn, and I just took a YouTube video and went into offline mode. That's what I would suggest. So if you're someone that's trying to figure out this stuff, I found it too hard to learn in live raids. You may be different, but if you're wanting to just copycat my strategy, then there you go. What I do as I loot is I'm always trying to use control click and alt click as often as possible. Control click will put something in either your rig, your pockets, or your backpack. Different loot has different priorities, and there's so ammo goes automatically to your rig, and then alt click will equip onto your character. And those 2 shortcuts for looting are going to increase your speed quite a bit, and I would recommend practicing them. And it may be new to you, and that's totally cool. If you're not used to doing it, leave yourself like a sticky note on your monitor whenever you're playing, and just remind yourself. Eventually you're going to remember that you're not doing it, and then you're going to remember sometimes, and then you're going to remember most of the time, and then you're going to remember all the time. There's like different stages of that competency, basically. Are there only 2 types of hidden caches? The gray bucket and the wooden one? Yeah. So hidden caches are either, and it's really dark and gray, so this might be hard to see, but there's some pine leaves over top of wooden, like a bunch of wooden sticks, basically. So that's your ground cache, and then there's a barrel cache. So those are the only 2 types that you can find. And they exist on customs. People really like doing this run or a run style for hidden caches on Shoreline. Interchange has them all along the perimeter outside of the mall. Woods has a few, and I can't even think of one on reserve if there is one. But like I said, they're really good to know. Someone's going ham on that grenade launcher. Really good to know for upping your average loot. So if you're in the area, you may as well grab one. If you're on your way to extract, if you spawned on Crossroads side on customs, if you know the map well, and you're coming to ZB 1011, which is right in front of me, I'm aiming at it, and you're gonna walk by here, why not hit this cache on your way out if you have space? Because you could get easily 100k or 3, 4, 5, 600k worth of loot out of these things if you get lucky. But I would say on average, you know, I'm getting, like, let's see what we pulled out of here. So sodium's like 20k, screws kind of on the lower end now. Let's say they're like 7k. So I got 30, just under 30k out of there, right? And it's all easy money. And a lot of them are hidden too, and in sort of lesser traveled areas of the map. They actually put them in the game to make the other areas of the map more interesting. So something else I like to do is check my fire rate. In this case here, I was in single fire. I switched myself to full auto. I like to know what kind of ammo I'm using. And if you don't know these hotkeys, once in a while, just hop into the controls and scroll around. I know there's a ton of stuff in here, so you're like, ugh. But what I'm using right now is check ammo. So yours is going to be different than mine. I've rebound mine. And then what else did we use? So we're gonna actually check our, where are you? Checking time. I think it was already up here actually. So check time. You're gonna need that. Check time and exits. And that's something else you're gonna need. So I'm gonna use that right now actually. So I'm gonna check my exits. We got Trailer Park Worker Shack and Warehouse 17. So you may need a map at this point. You know, take a moment. And the more time you waste sitting in a bush, thinking about what you're doing, setting up, strategizing, the easier the raid's going to get. So don't feel like you need to rush around and do everything. I got this game last week, and the only map I've learned is customs. That's, dude, I played only customs for so long. And if you want a recommendation for second map, Interchange is awesome. It's probably the most important map to learn, though you could make an argument for one of the bigger money-making maps like Reserve. Some people will say Reserve hands down. But Interchange is really hard to play if you don't know it. Like so hard to play if you don't know it. And so that's why I say Interchange is probably the second most important. And some people will not even recommend customs as the first one because there's a lot of choke points and it can be very difficult. But I think it's worth spending the time to learn because you have to be here so much early on. And that's probably why you learned customs at first too. Just peeking down the road. This guy's not moving. I typically don't take out scavs unless I need to. And when I say that I need to, it's those priorities again. So they're going to increase my survival. They're going to give me an item that, you know, so like the second and third options don't really apply because unless you see that they're wearing or using something that you need for your quest or something you don't have access to, you know, you can't really know what's in their backpack. But in terms of profit, so see that one was already looted. And we can check it again. A lot of people will leave certain items, like people will leave sodium, people will leave nuts and bolts, some manuals, garbage, PS ammo we actually need. We don't need that. We don't need that. And I have a habit. So there's a dead guy on the right. We're going to go there next. I have a habit of just discarding everything that I don't need. I put it on the ground. You don't need to do that. But that's, you know, I do this because my discard button is rebound to Z or Z, whatever it is that you say. So control clicking. I'm just going to get rid of, I'm sort of like filtering as I go. Screws will take for now, but they're not that high value. Tool set could be worth, this is about 10k per square. Magnets around 18k. Tape is around 20, 30k. So like, you know, we just hit well over 60k in that one container. So this is obviously not hidden cache loot, but this is an area adjacent to hidden caches. And so I've picked these up over time. We got some meds. I'm going to hover my cursor over it. So I put it in my rig, hover my cursor, press 5, and now I can easily use my med if I need to. After I learned the hidden caches, I started moving around the maps and deciding, you know, where it was that I felt like I could check into and start learning more stuff. So we got tons of ammo now. This is awesome. I'm going to unpack this ammo to make it accessible. So PS is actually a little bit better than PRS. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about or why an ammo is better, I basically, I filter my ammo, like most people, through its penetration value. So control click on chocolate. Chocolate's good. This key is not. I've spent a lot of time learning the loot, so it's easy for me to filter through this stuff. It might take you a bit longer. Cabin key I don't need. What do you mean by per square? Yeah, I can tell you in just 1 second here. I'll give you a little mini tutorial. I did it at the start of the broadcast, but I don't mind doing it again. Anything that slows me down is going to be, you know, just make this whole process easier. So I'm just going to go through, try and figure out what I want to keep. So I'm doing something that I recommend people don't do, and that's filling up every single square in your rig. You need to have room for your reloads, especially if you're on your PMC using strong ammo. So I'm going to get rid of what I know is to be a lower value item and replace it with a higher value item. So I'm min-maxing now because I have my inventory full. So I'm going to find some cover, and I'll tell you what I mean by per square. So I got to be careful here. This is a trafficked area because it is an extract. You just always want to be ready. Even if you've cleared an area a little while ago, when you get complacent in Tarkov, that's when you die. So I'm just going to head back to this corner. So per square. When we look at items, I'm trying to think of the easiest way to do this. So I'm just going to put this stuff back in here. I'm going to use my weapon as an example to show you per square value. I find that this tends to do the job really well. So if I have an item like this in my backpack, when I extract with this item, it's going to have a value. In the case of this gun, I think let's assign a value of 28,000. Excuse me. It's somewhere around there. So if I know that this is worth 28,000 outside of the raid, thinking about a profit equation, then I divide the total that I can get for it by the amount of squares that it takes up. So if it's 28,000 divided by 8, I mean, I should have chosen another number. Let's say 32,000. That makes it a little bit easier, and it strengthens the equation. So this is only 3,000, or sorry, 8 divided by, that's would be 4. So 4,000 per square. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32,000. So this is per square value of about 4,000, which is not very good. When you think about a minimum value per square, so this right here is worth about 40,000, so that would be 10k per square. Chocolate is 1 square and worth, I don't even know, it's like 15, 20k, something like that. Magnets worth about 18,000. SSDs, this is a really big value item, like it's worth, I think, 37,000 or so. Tape. Keep it down, buddy. I'm talking over here. So anyways, I hope that answers your question. That's how you think of items in terms of value per square. Now, I told you before that what I don't like to do is fill up my entire rig. Because I'm not using great ammo and because I have more than enough mags, like 2 mags backup is enough, I'm just going to hold on to this one, and if I reload and lose it, I'm okay with that. So that's why I'm going to fill up my entire inventory. Something else that I like to do is organize my inventory from highest value, or at least like things that I know I want to keep, down and progressively lower. So if I'm to do that with this inventory, everything now in this container is are my highest value items. The 1 square items up here are kind of on the lower side, and then this juice, we may as well just drink it. It feels bad. So that was just an NPC scav. I'm always mindful about taking them out because I don't want to aggro other scavs in the area. And I only really kill them if I need what they have. So usually it's more space. In this case here, this guy doesn't really have much. I don't want to keep my head buried for too long, so I'm just gonna get out of there. While I was on his body, I used my quick keys, my quick looting keys, Alt, and then click, so that I could automatically equip the pistol and equip the armor instead of clicking and dragging, which is going to save me time. So Dave, when you're thinking about loot and you start to get to the point where you're often having a full bag of loot, you want to think about how can I extend the value of my space. So you need to have an understanding of what the value of the loot is, which takes some time, but there's definitely, you know, some learning that you'll just naturally do as you play. And while I'm full on space now, or almost full, I'm going to min-max my space. So I'm going to constantly try and replace lower value things. And up here, so caps, I took them out of the raid yesterday. I wasn't sure what their value was, and I think I sold it for like, you know, just under 10k. So it was under. Whereas at the beginning of the wipe, just after game reset, these are worth quite a bit more. Same thing with screws. This ammo like actually does command a little bit of a value. I think it's like 200 or 300 rubles per bullet. But since there's only 30 bullets, I might end up getting rid of this. And then I talked in the beginning of the raid or the run that I'm always looking for stuff that's going to make me capable of surviving more. And so ammo is going to be, you know, something I want to keep for a while, but this ammo is garbage. Like, it's not worth the space that it takes up. And if you kill one scav, are you always marked for other scavs? Only scavs in the area. And I have no idea what the radius is, but there's basically a radius. If you could imagine a bubble from whoever you killed, as soon as you get far enough away from that bubble, then the other ones will not aggro you anymore. So understanding what that bubble is, it might take a little bit of time, but as long as you're cautious, you should be okay. Every now and again, I get surprised. So that looks like a player. A player scav, even. Because I know the map, I'm going to head somewhere where I can keep cover, keep a little bit more concealment. Quickly check my left. As soon as I break line of sight on where this guy could be coming from. What? You just David Copperfield it out of here. You're kidding me. Where the hell did that man go? Oh, he extracted. Well, dang. What were you doing? I'm like, what? Ooh, bolts. He was trying to get the goods. We're just going to eat this. I recommend, for the most part, eating and drinking everything you find. Now, that being said, this particular item is something that you will need to find later on in the game for another task. I was so confused there. That was hilarious. This is actually kind of good. So we're going to get a bit more space. So I'm clicking and dragging over some items. I'm going to move these ones up here. So I'm going to actually have to get rid of my tool set now because of what I want to do. That's okay, though. I'm going to get back to concealment. Did he crawl into the cache? Dude, I considered it for half a second. I'm like, did he? I'm like, maybe he did. Maybe. Could you imagine? So we got another bandage. That's cool. This eye cup, that's garbage. US we don't need. We have a ton of ammo, so I'm going to start reorganizing my space. The reason why I decided to take this over the the toolkit is because I get extra space, and I'm sure I can make up the extra money that I'm sort of, losing just temporarily. So we said earlier that caps are on the lower value. No, I'm just going to reorganize my loot again. So there's a lot of reorganizing, and I want to make sure that I put all of my highest value things, and I like doing this as a strategy, so everything down here I know is higher value. Everything at the top, that way if I need to get rid of something quickly, it's easy for me. I have a kind of a mental system for it. The worst thing that you could do in the middle of a tense situation is being like, where do I go? Because as we all know, that whenever you're having those freak out moments, that's when everything starts breaking down. So if you're just tuning in and you're wondering what the heck is this guy doing, I'm taking you on a loot cache run that I do on my Scav that helps me to make a boatload of money quite consistently. And I'm talking about the strategies that I think about or I use while I'm playing in order to make the most profit. So we'll see what we got in here. We got some more armor. So I'm just trying to think of like, how can I make the most out of my space right now? So this rig is bigger than this rig. This is the same tier of armor. So this is when things get kind of weird. So we're going to do the easy one. I'm just going to get rid of that. We're going to take the tape. I know that part. Actually, we could have kept that other thing. Whatever. I'm gonna do this now. So everything in my rig is something I want to keep. So I'm gonna rejuggle my items. I'm actually going to put this on the ground. Equip. Where'd you go? Check around so that I'm not like an idiot just looking down. Take. Go prone again. Okay. Now the rejuggle of items. So this might get kind of obnoxious and you're like, oh, this is taking too long. But, you know, take your time. Make the most out of your run. Make it easy on yourself. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't plan on keeping this if I don't have to. And if I get another rig, a bigger rig, then I'll just replace this armor. And because this armor is actually just slightly better. Let's see here. So I'll get all of our... Oh, yeah. So here's another way I could be saving time. I could just be clicking and dragging like this onto the picture of the item. I could do the same thing up here. And we'll get you down there. I think that's good. So I'm going to equip you here. And I don't think we need to hotkey anything else. We're good. So everything in this container is good. I know that I won't need to replace anything in here. Or at least like it's super unlikely. Everything in here is worth... I think Poxter RAM is worth like 12k. So it's on the lower side, but everything else is at least like 15, 20k. So if you want to see how well you're doing in the raid, I'm going to click on overall. So like this gives you an example of like how I'm valuing my time as a scav. I value my survival because the only way I'm making money is if I survive. So I tend to avoid fights unless I need to take them. And total cost of all items and stash. So I'm sitting at around 400k now for profit earned. And that's like my low marker for my raids and typically my average earned per run. Damn, dude, I thought I was going to hit that guy in the head. I was really close to a headshot. Mr. Hidden Cash Man. He's lucky that he had that extract. He was trying to get the last little bit of loot. He's probably doing a reverse version of the run that I'm doing right now. So I'm just want to get a peek over here. So we got a homie. You'll notice that I walk around more often than not. Unless you need to run, I recommend you walk. So normally I like to head off in that direction, but I kind of want to see what this dude has. I'm going to show you a little thing. We'll grab some stuff over here too. So I'm going to interact. I turned my character so that I have enough room. This isn't worth anything. I had enough room to go prone, and then I went prone. The only way you can go prone while you loot is if you hit the prone button after you interact. Okay, my guy didn't drop, so we're good. So I'm going to search there, try and go prone, failed. 114 key. Look for loose items. That's actually where you can find the 114 key. It's one of its fixed spawns. Jump sideways over there, because you jump a little bit higher when you jump sideways or backwards. What does ibuprofen actually do? The description is vague. I totally get you, man. So I'll explain how you read this this awfulness. They could totally do a way better job with their UI. I would love to be a part of some change in there, but you know, we'll see what they do. Okay, so HP resource, this is because it is 1 of 15. All right, use time, that's how long it takes me to eat the damn thing. Hydration is it lists what it is going to affect. In this case, it's affecting hydration, and it's going to drop it down by 15. Removes pain. So this is like, what does remove pain do? Pain is... something that happens when your character takes enough damage, usually to a broken limb. When you use something that removes pain, your character essentially will ignore a broken or blacked out item of their body and perform as normal. So if I have a broken leg and I'm limping around everywhere, and you notice that if you break your leg, your run speed goes down. If you remove pain, your character will now ignore the broken limb, negative debuff to your speed, and then you can just perform as normal. There are some side effects that will happen, like if you run on a broken leg, you will take damage, and it applies damage to, I think, your legs first and then over your whole body, maybe. I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes, but yeah, so that's what removing pain does. And there's a lot of things that will remove pain. So I just watched that guy run by. I couldn't tell if he had a scav backpack because everything's so gray. But I am looking for a scav backpack, so if he does have one, we're going to go quickly look and see if we can do that. Or we might even wait for him to come back this way. And we've only got 12 minutes left. So yeah, removes pain. And then we can see here duration 280 seconds. So if I take this, it's going to remove pain for 280 seconds. You can ignore the removes contusion, but this is actually a thing. If you want to know what contusion is, anytime you get hit in the head and your helmet stops you from dying, your character is going to have that like ringing in your ears thing. That's a contusion, or the contusion effect anyways. Not medically speaking, but Tarkov speaking. Where did he go? I was waiting for you to come over here. Oh, you're all the way out there. Alright. Let's go look. I don't think he actually has a backpack. I think he has a terrible sniper rifle, though. He does have a helmet that we might find valuable. We're going to ignore him. We don't actually need the helmet, and at this point here, I want to go up and check more caches, so we're going to get booking it. One of the best things you can do earlier on if you're struggling with your survival in the game is to find ways that are away from trafficked areas to make value in your raid. So in this case here, the way we're making value is by doing loot caches, and we're taking our time. We're being methodical about it. You know, if you're a newer player, you might be looking at a map on a second screen. Like, take and waste all of that time. Teabag, no good. Oat flakes, no good. AAA battery, no good. So I'm thinking about oat flakes. Oat flakes are like maybe 10k, so they're 5k per square because they take up 2 squares. AAA battery's worth like 3 or 4k or something like that. I've seen people pre-med with ibuprofen. How does that help? When you pre-med and you have an active effect, so I see how it lasts for 280 seconds. So I apply my effect, my removes pain. Then if I succumb to a damage type that breaks a limb, my character is going to ignore, and he's going to take advantage of those increased effects, or those removal effects, those buffs. So that's why people pre-med, in order to take advantage of that medication ahead of time in case they run into the shitty situation. So this is a bit of a more dangerous area, so we gotta be cautious. Rashala can spawn here. I'm checking in here. There's a key spawn. I can't remember if it's this seat or that seat. Figured I'd come in here. So that's why people pre-med. And what BSG has been trying to do is balance the ability for people to pre-med by increasing the debuffs that are associated with them. So in this case here, it's hydration that people are typically having to deal with. So if you had a 15 out of 15 ibuprofen and you were constantly using them, your character would be dehydrated quite quickly. So you need to bring in something to hydrate your character. So yeah, I think like biggest takeaway out of the ibuprofen or any of the meds is like you hopefully have an understanding of what is pain and what does the removal of pain do for you. I think that's the biggest takeaway for knowing what ibuprofen does. So there's a few different kinds of common painkillers, or sorry, pain removers. Like painkillers is the one that you have access to early on. You might have seen Golden Star if you watch streamers or other content creators play, because that's probably the most preferred one. It has the least amount of debuffs and it has the highest duration. And then also Vaseline is another one. And they just recently adjusted Vaseline so that it was no longer a 10 out of 10 item. It's now a 6 out of 6 item. So what they're trying to stop people from doing is keeping them in their secure container and just constantly using them without any like any need for additional risk. They want to slowly remove the risk-free gameplay from the game. And I'm totally down with that. Like, it doesn't make sense for someone to come into the game and have high killing potential, but not really have anything valuable. Like, if I fight you and win, what am I getting out of it? Could you imagine an adventure game where you have to use 500 bullets to kill a boss, and then he only gives you 50 bullets back? You're like, well, why would I even fight that boss? If you don't need to fight him, you would avoid him. And so the same thing happens in Tarkov with people that will play really cheap kits and don't bring any value in. And you don't necessarily need to bring in value with your kit. You bring value into the raid by going and doing what I'm doing right now. I'm looting the map. So if someone kills me, they can take all of this value. So there's lots of ways of creating a value exchange in the game, and yeah, what BSG wants to get rid of are the people that have high potential and very low risk. They want to at least encourage you in some way to bring value. And that I can totally get on board with. Finding how to balance that equation correctly, that's a lot of tinkering, and there's no predetermined formula for it all. You deserve more views. I'm good, dude. I do this because I really enjoy it, and if people find me, awesome, but I don't spend a lot of time marketing my content. I got into YouTube a little while ago doing some map guides, and I'm finding it really challenging to create the time to make more of that content. So I'm just working at it slowly. I find that these live streams give me an opportunity to make something of value that exists now on a channel. I was mostly streaming on Twitch before, and the amount of people that view previous broadcasts on Twitch are like, it's decent, but it's not that high. So I think I might get a better return on my time if I'm doing this on, well, these are good. If I'm doing this on, doing it on YouTube. What do I want to do here? I don't want to put these in right here, so I'm just going to get rid of something. I'm going to get rid of this bandage. Put you there. Oh, I guess I could have put one of these items in. Whatever. So 6 minutes. You're like, that's not much time. Well, 6 minutes is more than enough for me to get to my extract. Warehouse 17. So I'm just trying to picture where Warehouse 17 is. I think I got it. So Warehouse 4, if you were looking at the gas station, Warehouse 4 is the big building where the power switch is. Warehouse 17 is way over towards the right. There's a construction area, and it's in behind a building. So that's the one that we're going to take. We also have Trailer Park Workers Shack, which I could do as well. But that's all the way on the other side of the map and a little bit too far for where I want to be. The nice thing about this late in the raid, when you're like, oh, I've only got 5 minutes left, is you can mostly just book it around. Occasionally I do get caught. There'll be a dude that's hanging out, and he'll catch me when I fail to clear a corner because I'm just playing like really quick without clearing. I'm basically playing sloppy, right? But that's something you can often get away with late in the raid, which is nice because if you're struggling with the game and you want to just make some profits, so you can actually do something on your PMC, you could load up on your Scav, throw your character in a bush somewhere where you're pretty confident nobody's going to run across you, and then just set a timer on your phone, come back and play the last like 13 minutes of the raid. I'll do that when I'm trying to do schoolwork or I'm doing stuff around my house and I want to play a little bit. I want to make a little bit of money. Because this game is way more fun when you've got money. So let's see what you got. I think this is where we may exchange value, but this right here has a value too, so I think I'm actually going to keep it. If this was a bigger rig, I would switch. Actually, we're going to get rid of you. Take the cowboy hat. It's a little bit better. Do you have any advice to build up confidence going into raids? I'm trying to think of what made it better for me. So one was I needed, for me to feel confident, I needed to know the maps well. I needed to understand where I was going. I needed to understand where people would be going and coming from. So there's a sort of a formula that I have whenever I'm making my learning videos, my guide content. And oh yeah, because it's late, I'm actually going to get rid of my meds now. So I think that new players should learn extracts. I think they should learn the locations of where tasks are. And I think that they should learn the locations of key spawns. Key spawns is a narrow version of loot. So extracts, tasks, and loot. Now, you usually will priority loot a little bit earlier on because you need to make money. But if you could skip the money making thing, it's learning the extracts and the tasks, because then you know where a lot of the players are going to go. And why that matters is because you start to understand, like, how are people going to run the map? Well, they're running from one objective to the next. Loot becomes a bigger priority as the reset goes on or as the wipe goes on. So that's something that you need to think of. And now most people are going for mid to late game tasks, or a lot of people, sorry, not most. A lot of people are going for mid to late game tasks, and a lot of people are going for loot. So it becomes more important to know where loot is. So I'm trying to figure out which of these guys, if any, might be a player. Doesn't look like any of them. And there's 3 dudes here, so this becomes a real challenge. The return on my time is pretty low. The reason why I stopped and thought about it is because he has a scav backpack. But I've got a lot of loot, and there's no point. If I try and fight all 3 of these guys, I could lose everything, and I might get just a small amount increase, so I'm just going to continue on here. So anyways, going back to like the confidence building, know the map. That's a big one. And once, like, knowing the map is like a whole subset of other small things. So like we talked about extracts and loot, but you need to know, like, where are people? Where should they be? Well, people are going to be moving from one objective to another. So either an extract, loot, or a task. Or they're going to be setting up to ambush somebody going from an extract, or going to an extract to loot or to a task. And so then it becomes, well, where are the good camping spots? Where are the good hiding spots? So, you know, you're going to want to start paying attention to good flanking angles, good big bushes that you might be in. So this helps too. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because I became more confident when I like actually understood how to run the map. So that was step number 1 for me. This was really knowing the map. Number 2 was building effective kits that, oh yeah, here we go. No, maybe. Yep, more value. Let's see here. Get rid of you, keep you, get rid of you. It's a more valuable knife. I know I've only got 1:15, so I'm gonna just quickly do what I can here. So know the map, and then you're going to need to know how to build effective kits. And what I call an effective kit is something that you can afford to run that's going to get the job done. In the case of getting the job done, is you need to have good ammo. That's number 1. You don't necessarily need the best armor in the game, because if you think about a scav run that you've had where you've been really successful, and you know you managed to take down a player, well, you didn't really need good gear. You needed a good strategy. You needed a good location to ambush them and take advantage of their vulnerabilities. So you don't need good stuff to be successful in the game, but you do need like a minimum, right? And so ammo becomes an important one. If you play slow enough, all you need is ammo. Like, who's a good person to watch? What's his name? Eroctic. He was somebody I remember watching early on that used to use terrible gear all the time, but he would always play really well. So it was more about strategy for him. And the reason why he plays well is because he knows where people go to, so he has good map knowledge. He knows where not to go. So again, map knowledge. Knowing where not to go is more about like knowing where's a bad angle, where's a bad situation to be in. Like, you know, if you walk out in the middle of the open with no cover, you're in a bad place. So understanding those things, I think, like, really it comes down to map knowledge for me. And then after that, like, you might be someone that struggles with the mechanics of the game. Like, maybe you're not really proficient, like you freak out and you don't know how to med properly. Your hands get all tongue-tied. I don't know another word for it, but so when you fail to act in those situations, you need more comfortable combat experience. And you can get comfortable combat experience by, one, having enough money to finance your losses or your deaths or your learning. Like, you need to be able to withstand the cost of learning. And generally it costs more to learn in this game. Once you have a really good set of knowledge and like experience underneath you, you're able to make your money last longer. So you taking a big kitted M4 in the game, it's actually worth less in your hands than it is in my hands, because I know how to I take advantage of the map. I die less. So the more you know, the more valuable your stuff is. But yeah, building an effective kit, and you don't need a great kit. Like here, I'll show you some items that would stand out for me. And then you gotta learn to approach the map in an intelligent way. So one of the strategies I employed, like a lot of the stuff that I did in my scav run, were, I'm always clearing every angle as often as I can, especially early on, right? I come into every area expecting a fight, and I'm ready for one. So there's a few things that I do. One of them is I pre-aim, so I get my gun like ready, coming up to an angle. Whenever I'm coming around a corner, if there's somebody there, then I'm like already aiming at chest, neck, or head level. I also keep my character close to cover, so I understand the map, I understand my environment. And the reason this benefits me is because I can put myself in a smart situation. I'm not getting myself in the middle of open and then I get caught by somebody and I have nowhere to go. I have no sort of out. I have no retreat, no second option. It's either fight or die. And I don't want those situations, and so that's what I avoid. This is probably the best budget armor in the game. It's not going to do anything great against good players with good ammo. So if you're trying to get into a situation where you're trading shots back and forth, this is not the ammo for you. But if you're playing ambush tactics, trying to make money, trying to learn the maps, trying to get a little bit more comfortable with the game, this armor is the cheapest, best armor that you can probably get, because it will protect you in a lot of scav fights. It'll protect you against low-geared players. So the reason why I say this is because it's tier 3. It's armor class 3. So this only reliably helps you against, ammo that's around 30 pen. A lot of players now are using greater than that. So BT ammo, for example, I think is 37 pen. So that should chew through this, but you'll take a couple of shots. So anyway, so this is a great like learning armor. I use this for an entire wipe, no kidding. And I had a really good survival rate too, but I played like, what people would call a rat, but I'm not just trying to avoid everything everywhere. I always took fights on my own terms. So if I had the advantage and I was getting ready to set up on someone, then I would fight them. If I thought that there was any bit of a disadvantage for me, I just bug out and live to fight another day. And I, continue on my run. So I was like that annoying pest in the match. And it started to really give me confidence to understand that I could play in that way. So I think, I don't know if that helps you or not, but that's how I developed confidence, was finding the map knowledge and then effective kits. So this is one thing. This is a great armor. In terms of weapons, it really comes down to traders, I think. So you're going to want to, do your best to unlock traders. And if you're struggling with tasks, learn where a bunch of low difficulty loot is. So like those loot caches, do that at the beginning of your raid, get your quests done later. So some weapons that are effective, like early on, there's not a lot to choose from. You get your PS rounds from Proper. It's not really that great anymore, but like, probably your best full auto PS firing weapon would be your AKM, and I'm assuming you have access to the flea market now. So that'd be one. The SKS. Some people really have a hard time with things like the SKS though, because it's a semi-auto weapon, and it is no secret that in Tarkov, full auto is going to be your best friend. Full auto with terrible ammo is often more potent than semi-auto with better ammo in an unskilled hand. Now, it's really important, that last part there, because if you're a skilled player, you can probably make anything work. That's something that people just figure out how to do. So some other notable things that are good. If we go to Peacekeeper, which, at the beginning, the best ammo you get is this M8 5.5, which isn't that great. It's only 30 pens, so this is like sort of around that PS round. It's okay. But when you start getting into a better round, so at tier 2 and Peacekeeper, so this, you know, you need to obviously unlock level 2, but the M80 round is probably one of the single best value rounds early on, because you can put this in a Hunter Vepr, which is another fairly cheap to run gun. And this was like, I used to run a Hunter Vepr, where are we here? I used to run this gun, and I would kit it really cheaply. So I'll show you, you know, maybe one other attachment that you probably already know, but I basically would put an optic on this thing, and I would grab, you know, 3 or 4 5-round magazines, and I would go with M80 rounds, and I would sneak around the map, play it methodically, play it smart. So the Vepr, for other gear, like just any kind of cheap rig, even this first level rig honestly is fine, because you're gonna be able to upgrade in the raid, right? So you'll insure all your stuff, and then whenever you take down a scav, excuse me, when you take down a scav, you will take, you know, you'll drop your rig even right there, especially if you're using just this little junker one. You'll drop your rig, and then you'll take that rig and then use that for the rest of the raid. So that's a tactic called insurance frauding. Loved your customs run video. Helped me a lot when I started Tarkov a few weeks ago. Thank you very much, Carlos. I'm glad, dude. And have a good night there, Min. Thanks for stopping by and chatting for a bit, dude. How are you finding Tarkov now, Carlos? Are you getting into it a little bit better? I know this game is both awesome and can really suck when you don't understand maps. I remember my first raid on Shoreline was like, I loaded in. I didn't know what was going on. I'd never looked up a map. My buddy and I, we were just trying the game out for the first time. By the way, this is the helmet that you want to take advantage of in the beginning. So this is like, most people will say is the single most overpowered item in the game. It's not going to save you often, but it is essentially free. And the reason why it becomes free is if you play the insurance fraud style that most people end up learning. So insurance fraud means you insure your gear when you go into the raid as a PMC. You find equal or better gear in the raid. You throw yours in some sort of concealed area, usually a bush or behind a tube or whatever. Like, you try and hide it, and then you wear that other one out, and then you're going to get yours back in insurance, and then ideally you extract that raid, and now you come out with an extra helmet. So I think I bought 2 of these, maybe 3 of these helmets in the beginning, and I still have like a wild surplus of them. And I didn't buy any of these ones that I still have here. So this is, you know, another cheap piece of equipment that's going to make your game, it's going to make your character or your loadout choice more economical and sustainable when you're in that learning phase. And then, yeah, just use the cheap headphones, which are way better now, by the way. These GSSHs. They really took down the amount of noise that it made when you went through a bush. Some people still might not like the noise, but I actually don't mind these headphones. I used to hate them. Slowly but surely. That's cool, Carlos. Well, thanks for letting me know that you found some value in the map guide. I was actually, when I first made it and posted it, my other ones aren't quite as good as the customs ones. So I've been learning my own process and learning how to make better content as I go. But I didn't get many views on it, and I kid you not, dude. I put more than 40 hours of work into that one video, and I was like, oh man, maybe people don't find this helpful. But I know that it's really about getting exposure whenever you're making content, so people don't know how to find me. But now it's starting to pick up, so I'm getting a lot more motivated for that. Unfortunately, with school and college, I've been pretty tied up for time, so that's why I'm doing some live streams here on YouTube, hoping that I can connect with some of the people that have found the content valuable, and then to share some more of my strategies, because this is easier for me to do than to make a 40-hour video. Thanks, Dave. That's cool. And yeah, absolutely, GatCat. If you ever have any questions, any of you guys, if you ever want, feel free to reach out to me either on Reddit, Discord, Twitter, wherever. I'm always answering questions for people. When I have more time, I'm regularly doing Sherpa runs too. So I'll bring someone into the raid, and I'll meet them on their level, and find ways to help improve their game, things that I can recognize that, you know, would give them the most value for their time if they were to focus on learning, because Tarkov is a knowledge game, and it really is about what you take the time to learn. And because there's so much, as a new player, it's like, how do you figure out what is the most valuable to learn? And, you know, a lot of people will find their way to Pestilli, who's awesome. He's like just a knowledge book. He's like the encyclopedia. Where I found Pestilli difficult was I found he moved too fast. He kind of missed a few of the steps for me when I was trying to learn, and that's actually what encouraged me to make some content. But anyways, going back on the gear just a little bit, if you find the backpack situation in the game difficult, it's because you have not learned to insurance fraud yet. That's the only reason why you don't have. So I've never bought a Scav backpack. I've never purchased a single one of these. Let's put this back up here again. So I'm just continuously opening this ridiculous stack of them. I will never run out. I have, in 3 wipes, I have never bought one of these. It's because of the whole like insurance fraud tactic. I also tend to not stack backpacks anymore. In the beginning, I would, you know, put a Scav backpack inside of a Scav backpack inside of a Scav backpack. But I found that, I find that it's much harder to loot quickly whenever you have, like, you know, 3 backpacks, because you can't get into them easily and rearrange everything. So I tend to just take one. So if you're running low on backpacks, you either don't insurance fraud, or you don't do it enough, and you may not play your Scav, in which case, you know, it's just a free money maker. And I totally get why some people don't want to play their Scav, but I still play mine quite a bit, and I enjoy Scav runs. They're a lot, like, it's a different type of Tarkov. PMCs are stressful, man. Sometimes I won't even play my PMC. Not as much anymore, but like in the past and previous wipes, I wouldn't play my PMC for like a week, but I'd play my Scav here and there. You know, I was afraid in the raid, and I promise you it gets easier. So if you're someone that was listening about the talk about like confidence and whatnot, it does come with time. But yeah, the biggest thing that generated confidence for me was really understanding the map, and so I use Scav runs to generally build on my knowledge there. So other stuff and effective kits. I mean, if you have any questions, if you want to know how to you know, kit yourself out, let me know in a message. So you can reach out to me again in all those places: Reddit, Twitter, Discord. Discord, I don't have a link here, but you can find it through my YouTube videos, I'm pretty sure. You can just send me a DM. Just, you know, come join the Good Vibes Gaming Discord. It's not super active, but it's where I spend most of my time, or where I interact the most in terms of Discord. But just send me a DM. You can let me know what your trader levels are and what your preferences are for items, and I can try and help you build the most economical kit, because I spent a ton of time trying to figure this out. Proper level 2. So this is, I think you get it around level 12 or 13. That's when you get this Tactica Tula rear weaver adapter. So this gets a little bit confusing for some people, and if you're someone like me that was confused by this earlier on, when we look at a weapon, so this is a rear sight. So that, you know, they look kind of similar in size, but this confused the hell out of me in the beginning. So this is the same thing as this. Like, it's the same idea. They're both rear sights. So this is a rear sight weaver adapter. This is a rear sight. So this weaver adapter replaces, so if I take that off of the gun and I buy, gimme, it's gonna put it at the bottom of my inventory. So see how we took off that rear sight? This is one of the things that was super overwhelming to me in the beginning, and they did a really good job with this little highlight feature. So if you don't use that, I would recommend turning it on. So now I can put a, no, not that sight. Where's one that can go on? You can go on. So a lot of sights will go on top of your weapons. That's probably like the cheapest way to get guns on. And if you want like the cheapest flea market weapon that you can get right now, it would be like an AK 74M, AK 74N. And see, this is the reason why I would say learn to make money, because your cheap round, like, you shouldn't be using PS rounds. Anytime I get into a fight and I kill somebody that's using PS rounds, they were making a mistake on their PMC. Anything above level 10. And the reason I say that is because if you look at BT rounds are cheap, especially now, like 250 rubles, and you're like, oh, that's a lot of money, Jet. That's a lot of money. Well, what do you usually take in? Let's say you take 3 mags, so it's 90 plus 1 for your gun, and then 60 extra. So let's just say 150. So you're like, oh, that's 37,500 rubles. That's a lot. It really isn't. I just made like 400k. Let's round down by a lot. I just made 400k on my scav run. Like that's not a lot. And to wrap my head around that in the beginning, like I was the stingiest player I ever met. My buddies and I would play, they'd be going into the raid kitted, and I'm like over here with my Zuck 3s, my tier 3 armor, you know, my super budget kit, my Hunter Vepper, because I was still scared. And again, going back to that, the thing that really like allowed me to play the game better was to start learning the maps. And actually that's one of the reasons why I started making the map guides, because I knew I needed to learn the maps in order to feel more comfortable in the game. Anyways, super awesome chatting with you guys. What's my major? I'm majoring in marketing, which is going to be perfect for this. I can get a link for the Discord, I think. Give me a sec, I'll post it. Where are we? I'm actually going to my own YouTube page because I find that getting a link on PC is a little bit of a pain. Let's go here. Your channel. Mute the tab so you don't have to hear my voice twice. I'm just clicking on my customs video. I'm going to go into the description. Show more. Down towards the bottom. Where are we? Discord. Good Vibes Gaming. Yeah, I'm gonna need to get going because I got a ton of homework that I gotta work on. Sign into chat. What? Oh no. Reaction cannot be performed in stream. You can open this chat on a web browser. Okay. Got it. Is this gonna work? I did it. Okay. Yeah, absolutely, Dave. Hopefully we'll catch you again. Basically, my plan is to be here. So my regular time that I set aside for streaming is Tuesday and Sunday. And pretty much all of my streaming content as I get on, and I do tutorial like sessions like this right now. If I'm working on a video, which I'm gonna, as soon as I have one video that I'm gonna do, which is a really well organized version of what you might have just seen in the live raid just now. An organized version of that where I'm going to have some information pop up on the screen. I'm going to do my animated mini map on there too. So I'm going to take people through those runs because I find that they're way less time for me to do, and there'll be a way for me to get content on the channel. So I'm going to do that. And then I plan to, once I have the time, to get doing more research on reserve. And then I'm going to do some exploration sessions live. So I'll play, I guess I can sell some stuff while I'm doing this so that you guys aren't just watching absolutely nothing. But I will do some live sessions where I'm exploring reserve and I'm spending the time to, you know, check out the buildings that I have been researching that are of value. And then what I basically am trying to do in those sessions is, one, get familiar, even more familiar myself, and then two, to figure out, actually, I think I'm keeping these SSDs now, figure out how I want to structure the map guide. So, you know, where do I start? Where do I finish? And what's going to be the most valuable? So like, oh, these tapes have come down. So this is the stuff that you're going to want to figure out. Whenever you're coming out of the raid, you're going to want to pay attention. These might go up again. I don't know. I thought these were way higher value, but they think they're plummeting. So understanding why stuff has value is generally related to whatever barter it's needed for. And in this case, blue tape is used in the hideout, and then it's also used, I think it's either the Red Rebel or the sick case. I don't remember. It's been a minute, and I've almost unlocked Jaeger level 3. I think I'm just, one task away, pretty much. But anywho, I'm not going to sit here and filter through all my loot. Awesome chatting with you guys. Thanks for stopping by the stream. Again, if you want to come by and say hi, if you want to be a part of more live educational content, I'm going to be doing this on Tuesdays and Sundays, probably regularly on YouTube now instead of Twitch. And then as I get time, I'll work on another map guide, which will be Reserve next. And I'm excited to do that one because it's a super awesome map to learn. So hope you all have an awesome night. Stay safe. Again, I don't have any fancy overlays on YouTube. I'm going to start transferring over all my stuff. But basically, I have everything set up on Twitch, and now I'm trying to do more content on YouTube. So I find it's a little bit easier to market myself here. So, and the reality is I want more people to find me that are interested in my content so that it becomes even more valuable content. Because the more questions that are asked, the easier it is for me to find other ways to provide value to. So thank you for coming by and asking questions too. That helps a lot. Yeah, have an awesome night. We'll see you guys all next time. All right, good night.